Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
And here we go on Tider Insider TV for this Tuesday, October 4th. And this is becoming old hat. Alabama being featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated again. Josh Chapman is the 12th UA player to be on the cover of the publication since Coach Saban's arrival in 2007. Chapman is seen right here with his right index finger up. The caption reads, "Ram Jam Bama, the Crimson Tide's defense could be the best ever." Wow. With that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock. And I know somebody called in and said last week that I need to be drinking Diet Pepsi. And actually, I agree, but all we had tonight was Pepsi, so tastes pretty good to me. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. And yes, he does drink the Pepsi too. By the way, all the emails that I'm getting, he just doesn't drink it on the air like I do. I'm Gary Harris, and Rodney, hard to argue with the SI cover when you consider what Alabama did to Florida in the swamp on Saturday night. The Tide's defense, well, let's just say it, pretty much physically manhandled the Gators and gave up 15 yards rushing on the evening. Had it not been for a 27-yard scramble by backup quarterback Jeff Driscoll, the Gators would have been in the red for rushing yards. But best defense ever? Well, that's going out on a limb, I think. Do you worry about the Sports Illustrated jinx and all the hype and publicity getting into the Tide's heads? You remember last year after the Florida game, everybody was saying Alabama was unbeatable, and South Carolina handed it to them.
Well, this is a completely different team, Gary. This is an experienced defensive team. That was a very young team. I think those comments, though I think they were accurate, they were extremely premature. And again, now we're starting to see what some of those people who were claiming that this was such a great defense, this season, it's a mature defense. It's one that's ready, I think, to live up to the claim.
Their next opponent, Vanderbilt, on Saturday night for homecoming. Listening to some comments from James Franklin, the head coach there today. And, you know, he's been an offensive coordinator coming from Maryland. You know, has been in college coaching now for a number of years. He said it's the best college defense he's ever prepared for. And he talked about the size, the speed, from corner to corner, linebacker to linebacker, defensive end to defensive end. He said it's an unbelievable defense. Eddie George today, the former Ohio State Heisman Trophy winning running back, said it reminds him of the '86 Giants. I mean, high praise for a collegiate defense.
Eddie George won a Heisman Trophy. He played the game. He knows what he's talking about. But at the same time, I mean, let's just get through the season first. I certainly think it is a great defense. And we talked about last week the defensive backs. And, you know, they remind me a lot of some of the early 90 defenses, 92 in particular. And some of the others, we talked, even compared it to the 79 defense. But again, you need to get through the season and kind of see how things develop. But, you know, Gary, the thing that really impresses me, you know, as we look back at the 92 defense, we know the frontliners were great. There's no question about that. But when you look at this team, when some of the young guys start coming in, even late in the game, Jeffrey Pagan, Xavier Dixon, Trey DePriest, Vinny Sinceri, those guys, I mean, they're even stopping teams. You know, they're shutting down teams that have, when you look at the end of the game, when teams are trying to move the football against, they can't.
You know, one area that we had talked about as being a concern was the pass rush, but they battered Tyler Wilson, and this week knocked out Brantley, and Courtney Upshaw looked like he did against Michigan State last year. He was unblockable on Saturday night. Yeah,
you know, it appeared to be his best game. Certainly, you know, I don't know how the grades were, but I think when you look at what he did, he was very disruptive. You know, he made the plays. Alex Watkins was another guy that coming off the bench, he's starting to make some plays in terms of pressuring the passer, and I think that's big.
Well, Ronnie, you know, Nick Saban talks a lot about just getting through the other team's scripted plays. The offenses come out usually with a script of plays that the defense isn't familiar with. Florida came out and threw it deep on the first play, and it led to their only touchdown. I mean, Drake Kirkpatrick let DeBose get behind him. Lester was late getting over. It was a touchdown, but after that, the Tide's D settled down and got into the groove.
Well, I think there's two parts to that. You know, we really haven't played worth a damn in the first quarter is one way to look at it. And that was certainly the case in this last game where we gave up half the yards. They didn't change players. So the one part of that would be we need to play better in the beginning. And the other part of it, depending on how you want to look at it, would be we play better as it goes because we make good adjustments, which we do.
And they do make good adjustments. That's another thing. On top of having great players, being a physically mature defense, the coaching staff is unbelievable. One offensive coordinator in Sports Illustrated article was quoted as saying Saban's as good a defensive mind as he's ever coached against. I mean, Alabama, you know, you better get some points on them early because it's obvious as the game settles in, they're going to be hard to score against.
Yeah, they were. And, you know, Gary, I thought at one point when Florida jumped on them early, not only with that first touchdown throw, but then the second drive, I thought, you know, maybe this isn't a game where, you know, Charlie Weiss finds a way to move the football in Alabama. But the thing was, they couldn't run the ball. And it got back to being one-dimensional. And they couldn't throw it all night. There was no way they were going to be able to do that. So, again, you can't be one-dimensional against this defense. And it's extremely difficult, as we found out. What Demps have? 4 yards?
Yeah.
Or Rainey had 4 yards? I mean, it's unbelievable when you look back at some of the great defenses Alabama had. You remember Walter Abercrombie, the great All-American running back at Baylor in 2 games, had 22 yards rushing. He was an All-American against the 79 and 80 defense. It kind of reminds you of those kinds of defenses.
In fact, I saw a poster that Demps and Rainey were missing, the last seen in Lexington, Kentucky. And if you spotted them, let the Florida coaching staff know.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Well, Alabama's strength is the defense. There's no doubt about that. But the offense was more than adequate on Saturday night in the Swamp. Trent Richardson had an unbelievable game. You knew he was pumped to go against his home state school. 181 yards rushing, career high, 2 touchdowns. A.J. McCarron did what he's been asked to do. He managed the game, 12 of 25 for 140 yards. But let's say this, Rodney. The offense was solid, but, you know, because of the running game, they're getting some great looks and play action. A.J. had a couple of opportunities to hit long balls and just missed them. If that part of the game starts coming through, man, they're going to be laying 50-plus on people.
No question about it, Gary. He had some throws down the field that he could have made, and very capable of making. You know, he has a reputation coming into this season as a guy, not only in high school, but in scrimmages and so forth, of being able to hit the long ball. Now, he has struggled so far this season. We've seen him miss some earlier in the year. He missed, what, 3? I would say, against Florida that were opportunities. The one to Kenny Bell. Also, the short throw on the scramble to Kenny Bell in the end zone was not really a particularly good throw, though he was on the move a little bit. So, you know, those are potentially 4 more touchdowns when you look at it. You know, in games as we progress, you know, against some other competition, you've got to hit those throws.
And that offensive line, I mean, they just took the will right out of the Florida defensive front as the game went along. By the fourth quarter for Florida, it was pretty much no mas. And you could tell by the Florida coaching staff not taking timeouts. I mean, they were ready to get on out of there and get Driscoll ready for LSU.
And that's been 2 weeks in a row when basically a team with 10 minutes left in the game has given up, because you remember Petrino pulled his quarterback, Tyler Wilson, went with the backup late, well, with still 10 minutes left in that game. So Alabama has beaten 2 really talented, good teams and beat them really, you know, soundly.
All right, let's talk about Vanderbilt, the homecoming opponent, as you would expect. But this is a different Vanderbilt. I know we've heard that before, but James Franklin, the head coach, I mean, this guy understands what it's going to take. He knows he's got to recruit better players, but in the meantime, he's enthusiastic. His energy is infectious, and they're 3-1. And, you know, to be honest with you, at South Carolina, a couple plays go the other way. They had an opportunity to win that football game. My point is, are they as good as Alabama? No way. Are they capable of putting up a fight and making it a competitive game? Yes, they are. Defensively, their secondary leads the nation in interceptions.
Yeah, they've got unbelievable 14 interceptions in just 4 games, Gary. 3 of those, you just saw one of those, returned for touchdowns. So their corners are really outstanding. They've got both of them have returned interceptions for touchdowns, and they produced 16 turnovers. They're only giving up 16 points a game. 97 yards on the ground, so they're doing a good job against the run as well.
And, you know, one thing about great football teams, not that they can't be tested, but the really good teams seem like, even after Arkansas and Florida, will come in and against a team that they should beat, take care of business. I'll be interested to see how Alabama plays early in this football game, if they're ready to play or if there's a little bit of an emotional letdown.
Well, and on top of that, it's homecoming. Sometimes there's some distractions. You remember last year against Ole Miss?
Yeah.
Didn't think they played particularly well against an Ole Miss team that struggled and ended up winning 23-10. But still, again, there is some distractions.
Well, still to come on Titv, we'll make our predictions later in the program for the upcoming game. But up next, if Alabama has a weakness, could it be the kicking game? Kicking off and punting, we'll discuss. Plus, we'll take your phone calls and get to your emails. The number you need to know to reach us, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. And still to come, former Alabama golfers like Jerry Pate, Jason Bone, and Tuscaloosa's own Dickie Pride will all be back this weekend, not just for homecoming, but for a very special event. We'll chat live with one of those guys later in the show. Stay tuned. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only Tider Insider TV, presented by Pepsi and Buffalo Rock.
With no, they're not high and short by design. I wish they'd kick it in the stands. I can't tell you why. You know, technically in practice, he does a really good job. I think he has to have confidence that if he carries over those same fundamentals in the game, that's going to be the best way to get the best results. It's no different than, you know, my golf swing. You know, when I swing it right, I hit it straight, and when I don't, it goes sideways. And it doesn't go very far. And I can't tell you why.
Well, Nick Saban cleared that up on Monday, because I was wondering myself. Sometimes I thought maybe they were trying to placement kick it. But I want to ask you about that, because Cade Foster is a talented guy. In high school, and I know it was 5 yards closer, but we watched him at Texas Stadium, the old Cowboy Stadium, boot it through the end zone consistently. Why can't he do it now?
Well, if Saban doesn't know, I certainly don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, Gary, and it is. And you know, the thing about it, last year he hit several in the end zone. He didn't consistently put it in the end zone, but he did hit several and showed a lot of promise. And you would have thought, you know, with the offseason and the opportunity to have that experience that he had last year, that maybe he'd be a little bit more comfortable in terms of what he was doing and with his technique.
One touchback in his career. 2 years, going on 2 years now kicking, just one touchback. So that's an area he needs to improve. Mandel's punting, still not quite up to par. I tell you what, I kind of like what Florida doing with the rugby kick there a little bit. That gave Alabama fits.
Yeah, and you know, you're talking about those kickoffs, Gary, and how they almost returned kicks. Cade Foster actually saved a touchdown on one where he dropped down.
Well, it's like I said, if you're not going to kick in the end zone, you better help tackle. And he will do that.
He will do
no doubt about it. He'll get down and do that. All right, coming up, Pro Golf invades Tuscaloosa this weekend, all in an effort to help in the continuing tornado relief efforts. We'll talk live with former UA golfer Dickie Pride about this big event. Plus, we'll get to your phone calls at 205-348-9882 and answer your emails at titv@wvuatv.com. Stay with us. And we're back on Tider Insider TV. I love live television because, you know, you really don't know sometimes. But about 2 seconds before we got back, John said we've got Dickie Pride on the phone, and it is our pleasure to welcome in former University of Alabama golfer, Tuscaloosa native, and PGA Tour winner Dickie Pride. Dickie, Gary Harris, Rodney Orr, Tider Insider TV, thanks for being with us, man.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate y'all having me on. I got to tell you flat out, right off the start, I'm a big fan of Tider Insider. Wow. I go online and watch that. I mean, it's now, granted, it's been a lot more fun since Coach Saban's been recruiting to watch it, but I really do enjoy the site.
Hey, Dickie, we appreciate it.
Hey, Dickie, let's go ahead and get right to it. I mean, I know you love coming back to Tuscaloosa as often as you can, but at the same time, it's homecoming, but it's really even bigger than that this weekend. You and numerous other professional golfers, many with Alabama ties, some that don't have any ties to the area, are coming back for a special cause. Tell us about it.
Well, we're having a golf tournament on Monday, October 10th, and gala Sunday night on October 9th at Indian Hills Country Club. And it's a Pro-Am golf tournament, and we're bringing PGA Tour pros. And when I say we, it's myself, Jason Bone, who played golf with me at Alabama, but then lost his eligibility when he made a hole-in-one at the old University golf course for $1 million.
Yeah, something about $1 million, he just messes up your college career.
That scholarship, but, you know, now give Jason credit. He stayed at Alabama for his 4 years and got his education. When a lot of people would have left, but, you know, he was on the golf team with me, redshirted with me, and then won that the next year and didn't get to play. And Kevin Streelman, whose wife Courtney is from Tuscaloosa.
Right.
The three of us came together after the tornado of April 27th and said, we need to help Tuscaloosa. And we're golfers, so what we do is we play golf and we raise money with the tour and charity and different things. And we bring in 15 guys in, including the three of us, and we're going to play at Indian Hills Country Club. And we've got a bunch of teams coming to just basically raise money. All the money is going to tornado relief. We've got 5 different charities we're helping out. And we're going to have a gala Sunday night and a big auction, silent and live auction. We've got some really special items. Silent auction, the David Mills putter that was the national championship putter with the head cover signed by Coach Saban. That's going to be one of the big ones. Coach Moore has stepped up to the plate. and helped us out with the opportunity to sit in Coach Moore's box during the football game and be able to walk the field during warm-ups with Coach Moore. We're going to do that for the Tennessee game, so I think that's going to be a big thing. Coach Grant and the whole athletic department's helping us out. Dana Dabrowski, excuse me, I say her maiden name. She's married to my first cousin, Joe Duckworth, but Dana Duckworth with the gymnastics team. They're helping us out. Coach Sewell with the golf team. It's been a big response, and we're going to do our best to raise a bunch of money to help the tornado relief effort.
Hey, Dickie, this is Rodney Orr. I wanted to ask you, obviously you're from the area, so the tornado struck close in terms of to you and the other two who are from the area. But, you mentioned there's 15 guys coming in that really may not have connections to the West Alabama area. Kind of talk about how their response and the others that you've spoken to the tornado.
Well, it's been devastating. I mean, everyone is just amazed. When you look at the videos and look and see what happens, it's amazing. I was there the week after it happened and have pictures all over my phone, and all these guys, I show them these pictures, and they just, I'll be there. And, we don't want an appearance fee. We don't want anything. We want to come help. Chris Blanks, one of the gentlemen playing with us, who almost won in Vegas and almost lost in a playoff in the Canadian Open, he went in his garage and got all his old golf clubs and put them on eBay and said, I'm a PGA Tour player, Chris Blanks, and these are all my old clubs. I'm selling them, and I'm donating the money to tornado relief in Tuscaloosa, and he's raised over $6,000 already. It's crossed all lines. Jason Duffner, who went to Auburn, he called us immediately when we decided to do it. He said, I'm coming to play. I don't want to be paid, and I'm going to bring a team. And we've just had responses like that over and over. Michael Bradley, Brian Gay, who went to Florida, but is from Daleville, Alabama. Just amazing what everyone's trying to do to help us out.
Awesome.
Glenn Day,
I'm sorry, Dickie.
A buddy of mine. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but Glenn Day, a buddy of mine that went to Ole Miss and then Oklahoma. And it's really special for Glenn to come because I'm hoping we're going to see Oklahoma later. Not that I want to get too far ahead of myself, but that's kind of the idea.
All right, Dickie, we got to wrap it up. We're going to put the information back up on the screen. Tee it up for Tuscaloosa, www.givetuscaloosa.com/golf. Tell folks how they can get involved real quick.
You can come Sunday night. We're having a gala Sunday night, and the tickets are, I think, $200 for two people. You get a T-shirt with that, and you can come enjoy the festivities over at Indian Hills and auction items and get in the auction and get some different items. And if you can't find it with the Give Tuscaloosa, tell everyone, email me. It's real simple, Dickie Pride, DICKYPRIDE @gmail.com. You send me a note, I'll send you all the information you could ever want, and we hope you all come out and be with us.
Good stuff. Real quickly, Dickie, we got to get you back on tour regularly and get you back in the winner's circle because your old buddy Bones got 2 tournament victories now to your 1. You know that, right?
Yeah, I've already figured that one out. Thanks so much for reminding me. No, yeah, Jason's done a good job, and I tell you what, we got a lot of kids, Michael Thompson and Bud Colley, coming out of the program. Jay Sewell's doing a great job. They've got a top flight program, and they're gonna do real good things. Corey Whitson's down there, and he's ready to go break through and be a force in amateur and then professional golf.
Hey, thank you so much, Dickie, and we'll see you this weekend.
Look forward to it, guys. Thank you for having me on.
All right, Dickie Pride from the PGA Tour, and tee it up for Tuscaloosa this weekend. Hey, more of your phone calls and emails when Tider Insider TV continues. Stay with us. All right, great interview there with Dickie Pride. Y'all support that big event, Tee It Up for Tuscaloosa this weekend at Indian Hills Country Club. But cut us a little short on time, but we got a couple callers that have been holding. James in Rainbow City. James, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, guys?
Doing great.
I've got a comment and a question.
Okay.
At the first of the year, everybody seemed like they was all stressed out about what we was going to do this year. But it proves once again, Nick Saban and his staff, they know how to prepare a team to play in a game. And the question is, how do you think we match up against LSU this year?
Very well. I mean, I think these are 2 really strong football teams. And you said something, James, that I agree with, and Rodney and I have talked about this. Nobody in the country prepares a team better than Nick Saban and this coaching staff. Now, that doesn't mean sometimes during a game that, there might be a mistake made, but as far as getting a team ready to play on a week-in and week-out basis, Alabama's the best. As far as LSU's concerned, Rodney, it's going to be a great football game, but I tell you what, I I don't think LSU's better than Alabama.
Well, first of all, he asked how Alabama matched up against LSU, and you said very well. But at the same time, LSU matches up really well against Alabama.
Two really good teams.
No, absolutely. And I just want to make that clear to the caller. But and they're very similar. You know, defense, try to run the football. You know, they're very, very similar. LSU's quarterbacks are a little more experienced right now, but you know, you got to kind of wait another month and kind of let's see what how it all transpires. But I'll say right now, like I said, back in the summer, this game is going to have the build-up of the game of the century again. You know, we've seen some of those, the Oklahoma and Nebraskas through the years and all those. This is another one of those.
Joseph, you got to go quick. We're up against the clock. What's up?
How's C.J. Mosley? How's he recovering?
Well, he's practicing some this week, and you know, might play this weekend, dealing with that elbow. At the same time, if you hold him out against Florida, which you had to, I wouldn't imagine they'd want to bring him back against Vanderbilt unless he's 100%.
Yeah, Gary, I originally heard he'd be out up to 3 weeks, so probably another week or so.
All right, thanks for the phone call. Sorry we couldn't get to many of them. Coming up, our predictions on the Tide and the Commodores. That's next. Prediction time, Rodney. Get to it.
Well, you know, Gary, when you look at this game, Vanderbilt, as I mentioned earlier, they do have a very good defense. There's no question about that. But I don't think they're going to be able to move the football. 31-0.
You know, we don't talk about this. I say this every week because our picks have been running so close. But when John told me your prediction, I was like, my goodness. I'd already turned mine into the Northport Gazette and everything. Couldn't change it. 30-0. Wow. I mean, I'm right there with you. I just think that unless Vanderbilt gets a defensive touchdown, I don't see them scoring. You know, Alabama's better, and I think they're going to be ready to play because it's homecoming. All right, we'll find out on Saturday night. That's going to do it for this week's show. Dinner time. Tonight, we're headed to Northport to see our good friends at Buddy's Rib and Steak. And I'm going to have a filet, I think, tonight. And don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can see it anytime on our website, WVUATV.com. So for Rodney Orr, our producer John Huddleston, our director Jonathan Newman, and our entire Titv crew, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.